In Pit Lane, proudly brought to you by Online Invent, websites, digital marketing, and custom software. Welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane, coming to you on Channel 31 right across Melbourne and Geelong, free to air. Now, coming up on the program a little bit later on, with one of the growing number of young women who are making a career for themselves in the world of motorsport, and not just behind the wheel as well. We'll be talking to Tamika McHenry a little bit later on in the program, and she'll be telling us about all the things she's crammed into one very, very busy year of motorsport. She'll be joining us a little bit later on in the program. Also, we've got some fabulous music coming up from Jessey Jackson. No, not the black American preacher and the civil rights activist. No, Jessey's a local singer-songwriter, and you'll be seeing her in action a little bit later on in the program. Doc is alongside of me at the moment, but we don't have time to chat at the moment because so much has happened. We just have time to say that Doc is going to start us off with the In Pit Lane news.
Teams are in last-minute preparation mode for this weekend's return to the Sandown 500, the first major endurance test for the new Gen 3 cars. So far this year, the new cars have looked somewhat fragile at times, and teams are concerned over what 500 kilometres around the bumpy Sandown circuit might do to their cars. It's been a busy couple of weeks for the Sandown circuit, which last weekend played host to the cars of the Shannon's Speed Series.
The Shannon Speed Series rolled into Sandown last weekend with an eclectic program of racing categories for hardcore race fans. Unfortunately, the only S5000 on hand was Ben Bargwanna's display unit, but the open wheel brigade was catered for with Formula Open. Featuring older Formula 3 and Formula 4 cars, the racing was tight up front, with Ryan Howe coming out on top after 2 wins to Trent Grubel, who took out Sunday's feature race. The AFO4 win went to Brodie Norris from Thomas Gallagher and Christian Janev. Shane Smolin dominated the GT4 field, winning all 4 races in his Porsche Cayman, while the Sherrin brothers took out the honours in the production cars, with Grant and Ian Sherrin claiming 1-2 finishes for outright and in Class X in their BMWs. Third in the prod cars was the Class A2 winning entry of Colby Cowham and Lindsay Kearns in the Mustang. Jude Bargwanna once again showed his raw pace with a come-from-behind win in the feature race for V8 touring cars. Bargwanna charged his way through the pack to eventually find himself in the lead at the midway point of the race. A spin to Jim Policina and a resulting black flag to Ray Hislop did make things a little more comfortable for him though, as he took the win from Antonio Meluso. Policina recovered to take the final spot on the podium, and that was enough to give him the weekend's outright win. A debut win to the new model Mark GT as Daniel Gillison won the third and final Mark Cars Australia race. Gillison cruised to the checkered flag ahead of Cameron McLeod, with both cars running sub 1 minute 10-second laps. Jake Camilleri won Saturday's first race in difficult conditions and hung on for third outright. The Trans Am cars made all the right noises at Sandown, and judging by the crowd reaction, were the number one attraction. In a weekend where motorsport family dynasties were prevalent, with Bargwannas, Richards and Grice all racing, it was the names Moffat and Mustang that dominated. James Moffat won all 3 Trans Am races to strengthen his point score lead. Recent guest on In Pit Lane, Elliot Barber, continued his great run of recent form to finish second.
Yeah, unbelievable weekend. It's not too often you get a car that good, and to really have a perfect weekend is unbelievable. Credit to everybody at GRM.
Sandown may well have a reputation as a power circuit, but it appears as if the TCR cars are pretty well suited to racing there as well. After 3 highly entertaining races, it was Bailey Sweeney and Hyundai who came out on top. Sweeney charged through the field in the reverse grid race, finishing ahead of Aaron Cameron and Lachlan Maneef. He then raced past Cameron in the weekend's final race to take the honours from Cameron and race 1 winner Tony D'Alberto.
Tickford Racing driver Cam Waters has confirmed he will be staying at the team in 2024. However, he is seeking opportunities in NASCAR should they eventuate. Speaking on Speed Cafe podcast, Waters said that he'll be continuing in supercars full-time next year at the same time as he explores those NASCAR opportunities. It's expected he'll be alongside Thomas Randall as the team switches to a 2-car operation at Tickford next year. It's a decision that Waters is happy with, saying it's good that Tickford is going back to 2 cars. They've looked after their business model and how they go about it all, and they made that decision that they think too is best for them. I think it's only a good thing, he said. Waters will be joined in this weekend's Sandown 500 by James Moffat, fresh from his dominant weekend in Trans Am at Sandown.
Well, it is a huge weekend of motorsport coming up in Victoria this weekend, and while most of the attention will of course be focused on Sandown, a huge field of bikes will also be on hand at Phillip Island for a combined round of the Victorian and South Australian Road Racing Championships. Entries in several classes are oversubscribed, with many of the country's top superbike riders entered in preparation for their round at the Australian Grand Prix meeting next month. Admission to the weekend is free, so if you were refused a loan to pay for tickets to Sandown this weekend, then Phillip Island may be more to your budget. Plus, Winton will play host to the Victorian Motor Racing Championships, incorporating the Winton 300 and the return of the Super Trucks. Also on the card, the Hyper Racers, Super TT, Excels, 2-litre sports sedans and the Victorian Sports Car Championship. So lots to look at this weekend. Speaking of lots happening coming up, we're going to find out about what our guest has been doing recently and what her plans are for the future. Her name is Tamika McHenry and she'll be joining us right after this break. Don't go away, you're watching In Pit Lane.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
Okay, yes, we must say thank you once again to Online Invent for making it possible for us to continue doing the show, as I say every week.
And he doesn't stop, does he? He was out the track with you on the weekend.
It wasn't actually, because he didn't go to Sandown on the weekend.
He was probably working hard behind the scenes for all the
having a weekend off, Roy, and he's the man behind Online Invent, and has been a great supporter of the program. And as I've said before, if you have a business or a race team or anything and you want to get online and you want to do it properly, then you really do need to talk to our friends at Online Invent, because they know all of the different things. They know all about SEO and targeted marketing and how to get more people looking at your online content. I mean, it's fine to have a website and it's fine to put stuff on that website, but if no one looks at it, well, there's no point in it being up there. And what he's done with our website, I mean, the Facebook page has just gone insane.
Some of the tips and little tricks and all the different aspects of it as well, though, too, that Roy does. So a few times he says, "Oh, Brett, why don't you do this and why don't you do that, and what put this as a promo, do it this, stagger that, delay this." It's incredible. All the tricks of the trade. You've got to know someone who's heavily involved in it and makes it.
The other thing is,
as
I've said before, your website is often the billboard for your business. And it's amazing. You go to some websites, and I've been to a few just recently for major Australian championships, and you go online and they haven't been updated in sometimes 2 to 3 years. I mean, there's COVID warnings on some, all sorts of things. So, if you have a website, and yes, you don't have time to always get them done properly, just talk to Online Invent, and Roy and his team will set it up for you, so to make it easier for you to run and more effective.
A very important point. 30 years ago, you used to go to Yellow Pages or the phone book and get what you want there. Now, what do? Everyone straight out, Google, and you look at. So if you look at the social media or the contact point or the website straight away, that's your first point of contact. Roy can help you really exploit it and take it to new levels.
Yeah, so once again, as we said, we must say thank you to Online Invent. Thank you for your support of In Pit Lane, RMITV Student Television and of Channel 31. Now, coming up for all of you at home as a bonus, joining us this week, our musical guest is Jessey Jackson. And Jessey is playing all over Melbourne at the moment. She's playing this weekend at the Camp Hotel in Bendigo. She's also on the 24th of September at the Porcupine Village in Malden. I don't know.
That sounds a bit scary, Jessey.
Yes, doesn't it? it's like a Southern Hill.
You've been there?
I have.
You've played there?
I have.
Quite nice little quaint crowd, I suppose, as well.
It is. It's mostly an older crowd, which suits me. So.
Coastly.
The reason they call it Porcupine is it's full of pricks. So, now
Just
the
boom,
and
boom.
also
He's been waiting all night to say that. He's finally got his chance. And flip it over. Flip it over. There you go. He's got it all in one.
Okay. Now she's also going to be at
He's railed in the prick.
She's also going to be at the Drunken Poet on the 11th of October. The Drunken Poet.
That's you.
So, but right now she's going to play us. She's going to play us with her first song for tonight. She's going to play us out at the end of the program as well. But right now, this is Jessey Jackson and We All Bleed the Same.
Sitting in this darkened room for hours, just trying to make some sense of it all. How can we walk along this long and lonesome highway in a world where people love to see you fall? But it's just one foot in front of the other. I know some may make you stumble on your way. We are all just sisters and brothers. After all is said and done, we bleed the same. I don't think that I'll ever understand the reason why the color of one's skin should cause them pain. Oh, if one man decides to love another, he is forever judged and made to feel ashamed. But it's just one foot in front of the other. I know fallen ones will land the way for change. We are all just sisters and brothers. No matter who you are, we all breathe the same. Someday all that we know will have departed. Those who remain won't hear the things we say. So let's say a prayer for all our sons and daughters, and let's hope they can find a better way. Don't tell them it's just one foot in front of the other. Even if the clouds make way for the rain, we are all just sisters and brothers. But don't forget that we all bleed the same. And that's just one foot in front of the other. And although we often cause each other pain, we are all just sisters and brothers. Don't forget that we all bleed the same. No matter who you are, we all bleed the same. After all is said and done, we bleed the same.
Thank you. Well, thank you in both. Now, somebody who doesn't need any contrived and artificial applause is our next guest tonight. Very lucky to have her, actually. I mean, I saw her post on Facebook the other day after the weekend at Sandown, and pointed out sort of what she had been doing in the past 12 months in the world of motorsport. She's one of a growing number of young women who are getting involved in all areas of the sport. I mean, we've had lots and lots of drivers on the program over the years, young women drivers, but and also some officials as well. But she's very much heavily involved in the whole world of race engineering. Please welcome to In Pit Lane, Tamika McHenry. Tamika, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me tonight.
Now, tell us about, first of all, as I said, you posted that it was like 12 months. How did this all happen?
So 12 months ago, I was coming to the end of my bachelor degree, which is in a completely different area. It's in aviation, so nothing to do with motorsport. I had a few health concerns that could potentially stop me from doing what I wanted to do. So I was looking around thinking, oh, what are other areas that interest me? And motorsport was one of them, and it still is. And coming back to Melbourne, moving back home, I saw that Sandown, the Girls on Track experience there, was an opportunity for me to just understand how everything works within the industry. So I went along to that, and I learnt quite a lot of things. It's mainly based around media and management. There were a few engineers there, but it wasn't what I was truly wanting to do. So I reached out to the organiser and I was like, look, this is what I want to do. I finished my bachelor degree. I'm going to start a master's very shortly. Is there any way I can get an opportunity to work just to see what it's like, if it's actually something I want to do, so I know to continue on with the master program that I had picked. So she then got in contact with the team for me, and things kind of just went up from there over the year.
Now, you've got a very master's in mechanical engineering
yes,
at
I'm doing...
University of Melbourne. So who are some of the teams that you've been working with? I mean, on the weekend you were with Tony D'Alberto and the Honda in TCR. Who else? You worked with a number of teams, haven't you?
Yes. So my first team was actually Gary Rogers Motorsport. So I worked with their Trans Am team. So they obviously have a very successful team there. I was around when Nathan Hearn was still racing with them, which is the current champion for 2022. And then I've also worked with Spectrum in Formula Ford, which was more kind of driver coaching because they're all quite young. They're all still learning tracks, how to turn around sharp corners, especially at Sandown. I've worked with Garth Walden Racing and their GTs, so I've done that, which is quite interesting, working with two drivers for one car. And then, as you said, this weekend I've just done wall racing with Tony and Honda. Yeah.
Very, very broad horizon you've got there, and a strong mindset I've noticed as well too, Tamika. What do you think that your studies as well though too, how can they benefit each other as well though too, having the hands-on experience now, and also it's probably giving you a little bit more inspiration too?
Yeah, so my whole point with the experience and getting it is that I don't want to be getting the experience once I finish my master's. I mean, I will still be quite young compared to most people, just because I have started at such a young age. But, I mean, it keeps me going. I couldn't study full-time the way that I am if all I was doing was studying. So I also have a part-time engineering job on the side of this as well, which is with engineers who I met working with Garth Walden Racing. So that's something I really enjoy doing, and it's a completely different side of racing. We're developing some fuel rigs for Cool Drive. We've been doing new setup boxes. Our fuel rig is actually being tested this weekend at Sandown on Aaron Love's car, so that'll be quite fun. But yeah, I've just kind of been
experiencing. Why the interest in engineering? I mean, it's not the first thing you would think about. And there's always been this push to get more young women involved in areas like science and engineering. So, what attracted you to, as you said, aviation in the beginning? How were you attracted to that?
I think I've just grown up always wanting to do things that I see boys doing and guys doing, because I never understood why females couldn't do it. It's not like that we can't, it's just it's harder for us because it's been male dominated for so long, and I always just love the challenge, and I have a side of me that likes being better than the people around me. I'm quite competitive with that way.
So you're in the right sport.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of better, who are some of the people who have inspired you, men and women, as you were growing up? Who do you have looked up to and you think that would take you to the next level? Who's been your heroes?
Growing up, it wasn't so much real people as it was people who I grew up watching on TVs and in movies. So I grew up wanting to be a fighter pilot. So all of those like World War movies and things like that were kind of my inspiration, because I thought it was so cool and I really wanted to do that. But right now I think Romy Mayer, who's just started as a race engineer for a supercars team now instead of GT, she's someone who I've always looked up to since getting involved in the sport. I've met her, I've had a few conversations with her, and she really is amazing. But even like now, I've made an incredible group of friends, male and females, and they've just gotten into some incredible roles and jobs, and it kind of just makes me want to keep pushing because I want to be at the same level they are. But yeah.
So what's the atmosphere like? I mean, when a young girl comes into to what has been traditionally a male-dominated sport, have you felt welcome? I mean, has there been any barriers placed in your way, or has it been, overall, has it been a really good experience and welcoming?
Yes and no. You always feel it at the racetrack, just being a female being there, especially in the field I want to work in. Engineering in general, I haven't worked with another female engineer yet, which is something I really want to do. There aren't that many of us out there, especially in Australia. So there is definitely a lot of, like, no, we don't want you. You're a female. We don't think you're here for the correct reasons, which is kind of crazy to think about it, because you look at a guy trying to get experience and that never comes to mind at all, especially in motorsport. So it's a little tough, and I have been turned down from jobs because I'm a female and they don't think I actually want to be there. Or they think I'll leave them.
It really is bizarre.
Because it's your mind. That's what you really need. And okay, some of the physical capabilities you can work on, and there's always ways around. But yeah,
so before, because we're getting, unfortunately, we are getting wound up. So for other young women out there who are watching right now, who are interested in getting involved in the sport, what should they do? Tell us about the Girls on Track program, and what advice would you give them?
So first of all, I think just do it. I mean, there's nothing stopping you, especially when you're at a younger age. People kind of enjoy helping younger people out. Sometimes they feel better for it. But the Girls on Track program, it's essentially brought up to bring girls and get them more involved. So there's two different categories. One for younger girls who are just, slightly showing interest. And then you've got the Pathways program, which is what I did. And that's for the the older teenagers, young adults.
Matured,
yeah. So the cut-off age for that is 21. So once you turn 22, you unfortunately can't be a part of it. But that essentially just helps you get connections. You learn about how to make connections in the sport, how important it is for connections, because it is all connection based.
Well, I need to have one more way of doing it now too. Have some engineers for you.
Yes.
Well, good luck with what you're doing in the future. Good luck with all of your plans, and hopefully we'll see you around not just the supercar paddocks, but perhaps see you at places like Le Mans, following the footsteps of people like Lena Gaden, those sort of people as well. Tamika, good luck, and for now, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
We'll be back on in Pit Lane right after this break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Okay, thank you for that. Now, for the people watching at home, is there anything you'd like to say? 'Cause it's funny because when you were saying that, it just brings back memories of my time with Melissa, my friend, and she said very much the same. She was very much the same. She grew up playing with engines and putting things together, and she always had the same.
It's natural to you.
Always had the same sort of reaction from the. I was like, don't. You don't touch that, my dear. And it was like, hey, mate, I can rebuild a 350 Chev. I've been doing it since I was 14.
Tell the schematics.
And it's really sad to think that is not really changing much.
Yeah, it's an absolute tragedy, to be honest. Because it's, you know, as I said, it's your mind. It's what you can actually contribute to something along. You know.
So, what changes would you like to see? I mean, if the like in terms of like, are there specific things you would like to see?
What barriers we need to break down?
You know, and barriers in terms of things that you know, people like Motorsport Australia, the FIA, and even government bodies could do to sort of knock down some of those barriers and make it, you know, a lot more comfortable for you to get in, people like you to get involved.
I mean, there are a lot of the barriers have already been broken down in motorsport for females. It's just more of the engineering side. Even driving is quite hard when you're a female to progress because people put you in a different category. They don't think you have the ability to go far. But I do think that, I mean, just being more accepting and having an open mind, because we are capable to do what any male is. We're all the same people, just obviously different gender.
It doesn't matter what sport this is, because I can refer to it specifically, but it doesn't matter. So what they've done is with these sorts of things when it comes to women in sport, and I think the gender equality issue as well, though, too. What a particular sport's done that I've been involved with for a long time is they have coaching sessions for not just for every people at every level, whether it's...
But I mean, your background is in football and all that. We've seen them. My other passion, as people know, is cricket. And when you look at now, I mean, what those two sports have done. And when you say like growing up and having sort of, you know, like a lot of your heroes were people not direct, you know, people in movies and fictitious characters and that sort of thing. Now in future, another generation of young women will look at people like you and say, you know, hey, I want to be like Tamika.
All of Matilda's lately as well, though, too. Soccer that's inspired all the younger generations to go and
really
overwhelmed all the little clubs as well, too.
As I've said before, and people, you know, like I've got a lot of criticism from a lot of, you know, stupid old men out there, but it's the fact that, you know, at the Mumbarella Sports Marketing Seminar many years ago, I mentioned motorsport, and one of the leading advertisers in the country laughed and went, male, pale and stale, irrelevant.
I think
if we don't as a sport embrace more than half of the population, the sport is gone.
Young, old, male, female. I think the two easiest things I suppose I've noticed as well, though, too. And we're open to it, though. That's the problem. We're frustrated just as much as Tamika here. Education and coaching are the two biggest ways on getting inroads into making everything a level playing field.
So with the Girls on Track, that's that's on the Motorsport Australia website.
Yes, so on the Motorsport Australia website, they do have a tab that's called Girls on Track. So if you click on that, it gives you all of the information. It has calendars for each of the age groups of what's coming up. And essentially, all you have to do is just apply.
I think they've actually got something coming up this weekend, haven't they?
So
at Sandown?
Yeah, that's how I actually started, was Sandown last year, this race. So yeah, essentially they'll take everyone there. They'll get a meeting together. You'll talk through everything. You'll meet all of the females in the paddock that have volunteered to help out. And
share their stories.
Yeah, they share their stories. They really want to get the younger generation involved, and it's not just females. I mean, it's something for females, but they're also trying to get just the younger generation involved in general, because it is harder for everyone, no matter your gender.
Yeah, and it is a sport that, as we know, I mean, even just looking at our own figures in terms of the YouTube channel and all the rest of it, that is, you know, it is dominated. I mean, the vast majority of people who follow the sport are us, you know, old white guys.
Except for Drive to Survive, but apparently it's fallen off the back now because of Max's dominance. Was it you saying to me this?
Oh, yes. Well, anyway, we'll talk about that perhaps on Full Course Hello tomorrow. Hey, Tamika, thanks a lot for joining us. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, the international season is coming to an end with several major championships heading towards the checkered flag. IndyCar staged its final race of the year last weekend. The NASCAR season is in its playoff format. The DTM is winding down, and the World Endurance Championship staged its penultimate round last at the famous Fuji circuit in Japan. And it's there we'll kick off this weekend's In Pit Lane International Wrap.
In the latest DTM race at the Saxon Ring, Lucas Stoltz, driving a Mercedes AMG, clinched a decisive victory from pole position to win the weekend's first race. Thomas Preining in the Manthey Porsche was second. In the weekend's second race, Mirko Bortolotti regained the championship lead after he secured his third victory of the season in an incident-packed race. Bortolotti finished 1.54 seconds ahead of race 1 winner Stoltz. Ricardo Feller, initially third in the Audi R8, was penalised 5 seconds post-race for contact with Jack Aitken's Ferrari, promoting Frank Pereira in the SSR Performance Lamborghini to third. Bortolotti now leads the series by 9 points. 6 times champion Scott Dixon has won the IndyCar Series final to lead home a Kiwi 1-2 at Laguna Seca. Despite picking up a penalty for causing a collision on the opening lap, Dixon took out his 3rd win of the season and his 3rd in the last 4 races. Fellow New Zealander Scott McLaughlin recovered from the gravel and a penalty for hitting Santino Ferrucci to finish 2nd, with 2023 champion Alex Palou completing the podium in 3rd place. There was chaos on the opening lap as multiple cars made contact, a theme of a crazy and at times shambolic final which was punctuated by many caution periods. The high number of cautions meant that the pace car even needed to stop for a top-up of fuel with 28 laps remaining. Tyler Reddick won the NASCAR Cup Series race at Kansas Speedway on Sunday, locking himself into the next round of the playoffs. Reddick made an aggressive move to the bottom on the final 2-lap shootout to pass Denny Hamlin and take the lead. Hamlin had pitted for fresh tyres along with Reddick, but a slow restart and contact with Kyle Larson prevented him from making a comeback. It was the 2nd victory of the season for Reddick and the 5th for 23XI Racing, the team co-owned by Hamlin and basketball legend Michael Jordan. Bubba Wallace, who won the race last year, was looking good for a top 10 finish before a tyre failure ended his day. Martin Truex Jr., the regular season champion, also had a disappointing day after a cut tyre caused a crash within the first 5 laps. The next race in the playoffs will be the Bristol night race on September 17th. Jorge Martin has won the San Marino MotoGP last Sunday, further closing the gap on championship leader Francesco Bagnaia. Martin started from pole position and led for the entire race, finishing well over a second ahead of Marco Bezzecchi. It was the Spaniard's 3rd Grand Prix win of his career. Bagnaia finished 3rd in a courageous ride after being injured in last weekend's race. He's now 36 points clear of Martin in the championship standings. Australia's Jack Miller was involved in a crash with Michele Pirro, and both riders failed to finish the race. And a special treat for fans of the Goodwood Revival as 84-year-old, 3-time world champion Sir Jackie Stewart drove his championship-winning Tyrrell 006 around the famous circuit. A guard of honour comprising of champions of the sport saw the Scotsman take to the track just one more time in a little piece of motor racing history. Our special guest is Jessey Jackson, and you can catch up with all of Jessie's music on her website, jesseyjackson.com. She's playing on the 16th of September at the Camp Hotel in Bendigo. She's also at the Porcupine Village in Malden and also at the Drunken Poet in Melbourne. But right now, she's going to take us out. Until we see you next week on In Pit Lane, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jessey Jackson and Guitar Gypsy. Good night.
broken wings and guitar strings, I know no other way. I was born into this big old world with music in my veins.